It's me, dudieboy! Recently in our Minecraft 1.19 survival world, we built this villager trading hall inside this massive castle keep. But this is just a keep and not a complete castle. To make this a truly impenetrable fortress, we need castle walls and a gatehouse. The keep is positioned exactly where I want it, but it looks pretty odd floating in space. So, in today's video, we're going to terraform the area below this castle using a mix of generated stone and dirt and grass blocks. After our last video, I spent several days texturing the exterior of this build by replacing stone with bricks and andesite. I also finished the base along the bottom. Whoops, left some scaffolding up there. I was wondering what happened to it. This is undoubtedly my biggest and best villager trading hall ever. But the exterior is still not finished. If you can believe it, we're missing two important blocks. In my original design here, I placed beacons at the top of each of the massive windows on either side of the royal tower. And I still want those beacons. I want them bad. So I went to the nether to hunt wither skeleton skulls. I already had 3 skulls, which is enough to summon 1 wither, but I need 3 more. I use standard tactics for dealing with wither skeletons, such as blocking doorways 3 blocks off the ground, which allows the player to pass through, but not them. It took some time before the wither skellies actually started dropping heads for me. Meanwhile, they chased me around quite a bit, and dodging their attacks plus fireballs from blazes and gas made it pretty thrilling. It occurred to me that I'm doing all this to get 2 beacons to use purely as decoration, and why not get one to actually use? So I stayed in the fortress and kept fighting wither skeletons until I had 9 skulls total, which allows me to summon 3 withers and get 3 nether stars and craft 3 beacons. After that, it was time to navigate to the upper levels of the nether, pillaring up and making my way up to the roof. I'm clearing bits away from the ceiling so that I can see the bedrock above. I'm looking for a low and solid chunk of bedrock that is at least 3 blocks by 3 blocks, or as close as possible. This area looks good and chunky, so I already did a tutorial about easy wither summoning you can find on my channel. But just to recap, we're going to go down 3 spaces from the center of this chunk of bedrock and place a piece of obsidian directly under the center, with a 2-block gap between. Then we place 3 more obsidian blocks in front of that, cover them all with soul sand, and then place 3 wither skeleton skulls on the ends. This summons the wither. Its head gets stuck in the chunk of the bedrock above, so after it has a quick explosion or whatever, we can now kill it easily to get the nether star. Now I'm just going to kill the wither 2 more times to get 2 more nether stars. Now that I've killed 3 withers, we have 3 nether stars, which we can craft into beacons using obsidian and glass. There! I've placed the beacons in the front and back windows of the royal tower, and it looks fantastic. 3 hours of effort just to get some beacons to finish my build. Call me a perfectionist if you like, but if you're enjoying what I'm doing here, please click the like button to help me show this video to more viewers on YouTube. Now it's time to finish this castle. I've drawn an outline of where I want the walls to go, the towers, and the gatehouse through which we'll enter. But there's not enough stone to build all these walls and towers, so it's time to generate more stone at my stone generator. And we need mangrove wood for the tower rooftop, so it's time to farm some mangrove trees. This is the area where I grow my trees now. These are not easy trees to deal with, but I've learned from videos by Exazuma Void of Hermitcraft that it might help to dig down 2 blocks to place the mangrove propagule. That way the tree doesn't grow as high. These trees are easier to chop down from the top. A hoe helps remove all the leaves on these mangrove trees and expose the wood. And finally, I need more andesite, which can really only be collected by mining in the surrounding mountains at Y level 0 and above. I recently decided to only mine andesite in the mountains north of my base. That way I reduce the amount of damage to the pathway through the caves that lead down to the abandoned mineshaft and ancient city below. Now that I have all the andesite, stone, and mangrove wood that I think I need, it's time to build up these walls and towers. First, I want to make use of my new beacon while I build, and I figured the best use while I'm working so dangerously high off the ground is to activate resistance power to reduce my falling damage. I'm starting back here where the walls connect to the tower because I'm thinking the castle guards would issue from there to man the walls. I'm going to let that dictate how high the walls rise, so instead of a window here, we'll have a door exiting onto the walls. Finally, I'm ready to build these walls and towers. The first section took a while because although I had a very basic design in mind, I hadn't quite figured out how to build the walls while suspended so high up in the air, and I had to stop and think about it. This section leads directly into the first tower at the rear corner, which I wanted to be the highest of the wall towers. This is the castle watchtower, where the Lord Commander of the castle guard would have his post, with guard barracks all down the tower below him. This tower took quite a while to build as I had only the vaguest notion of the design going in, and I got a bit obsessed over how I'm patterning the texture on the walls. The command post on top took a few tries to get right, with me trying 2 different wall styles and ending up not quite satisfied with the roof. But in the end, I came up with what I feel is a great tower that tells a story. It's not as high as the Royal Tower, nor should it be, since everyone else ranks below the Castle Lord, or yours truly. By the second wall section, I'd learned to build it from the bottom up layer by layer, and so it went much more quickly. Then I changed the shape of the second tower along the wall to be more of a turret tower, similar to the ones in the main keep. But I built this one slightly lower so that if the turret should be overtaken, the keep would still have a strategic advantage over the invaders. Then I capped it with a wood roof to make sure that the guards posted here would have shade. After that, I looked through my resources, and seeing that I had already used half of them, I realized that this was actually a much bigger project than building the entire keep in my previous video. So I decided to move my castle gate closer in and reduce the wall length to either side to conserve resources. With a better sense of what I was building, I added this longer, lower wall section more quickly and decided to cover it with a roof. Then came the guardhouse, such an important part of the castle because of the first impression it makes, that I made a copy of this world, switched it over to creative mode, and designed my gatehouse there. Then I saved a schematic using the Lightmatica mod and built from that in my survival world. Although the guard towers to either side start off a little plain at the bottom, I trusted in the process and added enough details to the wooden rooftops that I was very happy with how it turned out. I was so happy with the guardhouse that I just had to go back and fix the commander's watchtower. I added a little path around the tower to make this corner defensible, and I reduced the height of the roof and reclaimed a lot of the mangrove wood in the process. The next wall section was also straight across, and I just thought the castle was looking a little too square at this point, even though most royal castles do. So, for the first time ever, I tried building diagonally on a soft angle, and it worked out really well. The wall curves back, but it's still entirely navigable on top, and navigability in a build is really important to me. At this point, I was already way over time on this project, and I was out of materials, so I generated lots more stone, mined some more andesite, and grew a few more stacks of mangrove logs. Then I was ready to add another wall section, another turret tower with a roof to match the one on the other side, and then I proceeded to build a giant Gothic bell tower at the back corner of the build. Again, I went to my creative copy world and tried a couple of concepts in coming up with this one. The base of this bell tower also looks a little plain, but this only helps to pull focus upward, just as all parts of a castle should. And this bell tower honestly turned out so good that I kind of wish I'd saved it for a separate build, but what the heck, it was time to finish this castle. It's now day 733 in my survival world. That is more than 2 years in this world in just a few months. Isn't that amazing? Looking at the castle from back here, it just looks incredible, and you can feel the impulse to go over there and check it out. Up close, you're completely struck by how massive it is. Look at those towering towers and those flying flags. Oh my goodness, it just looks amazing. But you can't help but be distracted by the fact that it is floating in the air. So it's now time to finish up this project by terraforming the area below into a solid base for this castle to stand on. I don't have any experience with a terraforming project of this size, so I made a few attempts in creative copy worlds before moving over to survival. I figured that because the castle is already built, that it would be best to start right under the castle bottom and draw an outline with dirt. Sometimes the outline swings wide of the castle, and sometimes it ducks underneath entirely, and these are the spots where I will extend the castle towers downwards. I feel like this unevenness in the terrain gives the structure more realism and character. This section below the diagonal wall at the front is getting the most blocks added to the underside because I'm thinking about creating a path that slopes down the hill to a bridge across the river. Then I run a dirt block line across the bottom and start filling into the ground, extending most of the block levels outward to create slopes. The result looks way better than I ever expected, and I'm so happy with it. I leave a little indentation in the ground in front of the gatehouse for a stone staircase, and then I decide to bulk the corner outward even more than it is and run dirt all the way to the ground. As I continued sloping the walls down from the castle along the west side, I decided that this side of the mound would be mostly dirt and grass blocks, and then we'd quickly transition to stone as we got further along the slope into the Stony Shore biome. As for the rest of the terraforming, I want to achieve a fantasy castle look by having a castle perched atop a tall, narrow hill that looks like it was raised or sculpted beneath the castle, similar to the Red Keep in House of the Dragon or most of the castles in Elden Ring, or dozens of other fantasy castle paintings, and once it's done, I think it looks fantastic. Baby, I'm just a moth to your flame. After the time lapse, I cleaned up the stone around the sides because it wound up looking a little droopy, like the stone was sad or something, but it looks much better now. I grew this tree in the courtyard to symbolize the age and strength of this kingdom, and I customized it B00 style by adding more oak wood blocks around the bottom. And I love to watch the leaves fall from it. And over here I built a stable for the royal horses into the wall. And here's my horse, Greymane. Gotta tame a few more horses and breed them so he doesn't look so lonely over here, poor guy. Well, actually, it looks pretty happy. That was a nice, happy little kick. I still need to finish the rest of this courtyard and decorate most of the interior, but this project has taken me over 2 months already, and I could surely keep working on only this amazing castle forever. This castle belongs to the King of God's Cleave, which is what I'm calling this area now, due to the ravine tearing right through the middle, almost as if cleaved into the land by some ancient god's giant axe. Shout out to my buddy Leaguer Gaming for helping me develop the lore of this world. When the castle is complete, the final area to build on this island is the city area. I'm going to build it at the top of the hill here, outside the castle gatehouse, and there will be buildings and shops and villagers running around, and a general feeling of safety from all the mobs of the world. This castle symbolizes my conquest of this island, and now it's time to conquer the world. And to do that, I must find the nearest end portal and face the terrible foe of the void, the Ender Dragon. I've crafted some Eyes of Ender from Ender Pearls and Blaze Powder, and now I'm going to toss it in the air like a coin, and it will show me the way to the end. And it's northwest!